Welcome to Zoe Stories. I entered a bed. Now I'm my roommate's pretty Maid asterisk. It was just another lazy Saturday afternoon in our cramped apartment. The sun streamed through the half-open blinds, casting stripes across the floor, and I was sprawled on the sofa, scrolling aimlessly through my phone. I had always been the quiet one, the type of roommate who didn't say much, didn't get in anyone's way. But today, my roommate, Liam, was in a particularly mischievous mood. "Hey, Zoe, wait, don't move. I've got a game for us," he said, grinning like he always did when he had a plan to torment me. Liam had this charisma, this energy that made it impossible to say no, even when my instincts screamed otherwise. "What kind of game?" I asked cautiously, already sensing trouble. "A bet," he said, tapping his chin theatrically. "If you lose, well, let's just say it's going to be fun. For me, at least." I frowned, but curiosity, stupid, unavoidable curiosity, got the better of me.
Fine.
"What's the bet?" Liam leaned closer, lowering his voice like it was a dark secret. "You have to do everything I say for a week, including if I ask dressing up." I laughed nervously, thinking he was joking. "Dressing up? Like a costume?"
He smirked.
"Not a costume. More like me making a proper little maid out of you. Polished, pretty, and obedient. What do you say? Are you in, or are you too scared?" Something in the challenge, his confident smirk, the thrill in his voice, made my pulse spike. Against my better judgment, I nodded. "I'll do it." Liam's grin widened into something almost predatory. "Perfect. I knew you'd say yes." And that's when it began. The first time I stood in front of the mirror wearing a dress that wasn't mine, with stockings and heels, my heart was hammering like it would burst from my chest. I couldn't stop staring at the reflection in front of me. The soft curves, the delicate hands, the wide eyes that seemed unfamiliar. "Beautiful," Liam said, his voice low, almost reverent. Exactly what I had in mind. My little maid. The words were intoxicating, humiliating,
Scary.
and strangely thrilling. I wanted to laugh it off, to remove the dress and claim this was all a joke, but part of me, a quiet hidden part, couldn't. Something in the way he looked at me, in the way the reflection in the mirror seemed to respond to his praise, made me pause. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just losing a bet. I was losing control. And maybe I wasn't entirely against it. The following morning, the apartment felt different. The sunlight streamed through the blinds, but it no longer carried the warmth of comfort. It carried anticipation and something heavier, dread. My heart pounded in my chest as I heard Liam humming in the kitchen, flipping pancakes like nothing had changed. "Good morning, my little maid," he said, eyes glinting as he leaned against the counter. "Ready for your first day of training?" I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. Training? This wasn't part of the bet, or was it? "Yes, I guess," I muttered, my voice barely audible. Liam smiled, a mixture of amusement and satisfaction. "That's the spirit. Now, step into the living room. I've laid out your uniform." I walked, each step hesitant, my stomach twisting into knots. On the sofa, a carefully folded outfit waited for me, a short black and white maid dress, lace stockings, and a pair of black heels that looked almost too tall for my feet. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling as I touched the fabric. It felt strange, soft and foreign, but somehow intoxicating. "You're going to wear this while I teach you the rules," Liam said, circling me like a predator inspecting prey. "Manners, posture, speech, everything. You will learn to become perfect." I swallowed again, feeling my cheeks heat up. I wanted to resist, to pull the dress from the sofa and escape this humiliating ordeal, but I couldn't. Something in his tone, his confident expectation, made me want to obey. I slipped into the dress, the lace brushing against my skin, the skirt swishing around my thighs. The stockings were a challenge. Each tug and pull made me acutely aware of the smoothness of my legs. Finally, the heels. I teetered at first, wobbling dangerously, but Liam's hands steadied me. "There," he said, stepping back to admire his work. "You look perfect." I blushed furiously. The word stung and thrilled at the same time. Perfect?
Me?
Liam guided me to the mirror. Look at yourself. See what you are becoming.
I did.
And for the first time, I didn't just see a boy in a dress. I saw someone else, someone soft, delicate, and undeniably pretty. Then came the first lesson, walking. He made me practice small steps, tiny pivots, delicate turns. Every sway of my hips was scrutinized, every misstep corrected. My legs shook, my calves ached, but I couldn't stop. Every correction, every word of praise, felt like it was reshaping me from the inside out. Next, posture. He instructed me to hold my shoulders back, chin slightly lifted, hands delicate at my sides. The reflection in the mirror was foreign, yet as I obeyed, I felt a strange pride swell in my chest. And finally, speech. Liam made me practice a soft, melodic tone, a sweeter cadence than my natural voice. My throat ached, my cheeks burned, but with each word I repeated after him, a piece of the old me faded. By the time the day ended, I was exhausted physically, emotionally, mentally. I had learned more about being a girl in a single morning than I ever thought possible. But beneath the fatigue, beneath the embarrassment, something stirred. A dangerous, thrilling curiosity. Could I actually enjoy this? I didn't admit it aloud, of course. I couldn't. But in the mirror late that night, I caught myself brushing my hair with a gentleness I had never used before. My reflection was me, and yet not me. And I realized, with a shiver I couldn't explain, that this bet wasn't just changing the way I looked. It was changing who I was. The next day, the reality of my situation hit harder than I could have imagined. Liam had planned a practical lesson outside our apartment, an outing that would test not just my ability to dress and walk like a girl, but my nerve, my confidence, and my sense of self. I woke up to find another outfit laid out on the bed, a short pastel skirt, a tight blouse, and flats that, while more forgiving than the heels, still made me acutely aware of every step. My stomach twisted as I slipped into it, feeling exposed even in the privacy of my own room. Today, we're going public, Liam announced, leaning casually against the doorway, his grin unnervingly confident. You'll serve me as my perfect little maid at the cafe down the street. Remember, posture, voice, and expression. You're not just wearing clothes. You're embodying someone else. I swallowed, my throat dry. The thought of walking into a crowded cafe, where anyone could see me, made my legs tremble. And yet, part of me, the part that had felt the thrill of the mirror, was undeniably curious. On the walk there, Liam held my hand in a firm, guiding grip. Each step made me more aware of the sway of my hips, the tilt of my head, the soft cadence of my voice as I spoke. People glanced at us, and I could feel my face burning, my heart hammering in embarrassment. Every look felt like judgment, every whisper like a verdict. When we entered the cafe, Liam gave me explicit instructions. Take orders, serve drinks, smile politely, speak sweetly. My hands shook as I held the tray, my voice quivering as I greeted strangers. Some smiled, others looked at me strangely, but I forced myself to keep the posture, to maintain the facade. And then it happened, a moment I hadn't expected. A customer, a young man around my age, complimented me. You're really pretty, he said, and for a second, the room spun. My face heated, my chest fluttered, and I froze. The words struck something deep inside me, a mix of humiliation, embarrassment, and an unfamiliar thrill. Liam, noticing my reaction, leaned close and whispered, See? You're doing wonderfully. You're exactly what I imagined. My perfect maid. The praise, both cruel and intoxicating, made my knees weak. The line between discomfort and desire blurred. I hated that I liked it, yet I couldn't deny the rush coursing through me. After the cafe, Liam made me practice walking back home with grace, instructing me on subtle gestures, how to tilt my head, how to hold my bag, how to fold my hands delicately. By the time we returned, my legs ached, my voice was hoarse, but my mind buzzed with conflicting emotions. Alone in my room later, I collapsed onto the bed and stared at the reflection in my mirror. The girl staring back wasn't a costume anymore. She was real, more real than I had ever been. And with that realization came a shiver of both fear and anticipation. For the first time, I understood that this bet wasn't about winning or losing, it was about transformation. And I was only beginning. By the fourth day, the apartment had transformed into something that felt more like a training ground than a home. Every corner seemed designed to remind me of my place, every glance from Liam a test of obedience. I had started to realize that the bet was no longer a playful challenge. It had become a set of rules, a framework that dictated every moment of my life. Today, Liam began, leaning against the doorway with that same infuriatingly confident smirk. We're going to perfect your service. You will follow every instruction. No hesitation, no excuses. Do you understand? I nodded silently. The words caught somewhere in my throat. My reflection in the mirror showed someone unfamiliar. Soft shoulders, delicate curves, long hair cascading perfectly, eyes wide with both fear and anticipation. The first rule of the day was speech. Liam had been meticulous about it, correcting my tone, my inflection, my pronunciation. I was to sound gentle, melodic, even flirtatious if necessary. Each word I spoke had to carry charm, poise, and a submissive undertone. When I fumbled, his corrections were a mixture of stern command and teasing sweetness, and I couldn't decide whether to be embarrassed or thrilled. Next came posture. I practiced standing, walking, and sitting for hours, my movements scrutinized under his watchful eyes. Each adjustment was subtle, a tilt of the head, a delicate bend at the knees, the sway of my hips. By the time dinner rolled around, my calves ached, my spine was stiff, and my fingers trembled from constant attention to detail. Liam didn't let me rest. Every gesture, every glance, every smile is part of the role, he said, leaning close to whisper in my ear. You are no longer yourself, at least not completely. You belong to the role. My role model of obedience, beauty, and grace. I blushed, my heart pounding. The thrill of being controlled, of being praised for submission, was dizzying. Every command, every correction, felt like it was reshaping me, molding me into something simultaneously foreign and familiar. The final lesson was the hardest, self-discipline in private. Liam made me practice at home, alone, walking in heels, applying makeup, adjusting my uniform perfectly. He emphasized that even when I was alone, I was still being observed, still representing the perfect maid. Hours later, exhausted and emotionally drained, I caught myself in the mirror again. The girl staring back had eyes that held both uncertainty and awakening. My lips trembled as I whispered softly to myself, "Who am I becoming?" A shiver ran down my spine, a mix of fear, anticipation, and a strange excitement I couldn't name. For the first time, I realized this bet had started to blur the line between humiliation and desire, between obligation and curiosity. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying and thrilling. I might never be the same again. By the fifth day, my life had become a careful choreography of obedience and self-monitoring. Each morning I awoke to a new outfit, each more daring, more delicate, more unmistakably feminine than the last. I had started to internalize Liam's rules without even thinking, posture, voice, expression, all ingrained like habits I couldn't shake. Today, Liam announced with a gleam in his eyes, "We're taking your training to the streets. You will serve me outside the apartment in public." A test of grace, composure, and most importantly, obedience. I felt my stomach drop. The thought of walking through crowded streets, cafe after cafe, while wearing skirts, heels, and makeup, made my chest tighten and my legs shake. Part of me wanted to refuse, to retreat to my room and hide in the comfort of invisibility. But the other part, the part that had tasted the thrill of being praised, of being seen, of being molded, shivered in anticipation. The outfit Liam had picked out was daring, a tight-fitting dress that hugged my body, lace stockings, and heels that made each step deliberate and precarious. My hair had been styled to perfection, soft curls bouncing with every motion. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and undeniably pretty. The moment we stepped outside, a rush of fear and adrenaline hit me. Liam held my hand tightly, guiding me, his grip firm yet possessive. We passed strangers, and I could feel their eyes on me. Some glanced curiously, some smiled, some whispered. Each look made my face flush, my heart pound, my knees tremble. At the cafe, Liam handed me a tray and commanded me to serve customers with poise, charm, and attentiveness. My hands shook, my voice quivered as I greeted strangers, but I did my best to embody the perfect maid he demanded. And then it happened. A male customer, young, attractive, looked me in the eyes and said, "You're really pretty. That dress looks amazing on you." My face burned. My chest fluttered. I felt a dizzying mix of embarrassment, shame, and a surprising thrill. Liam noticed my reaction, leaning close to whisper in my ear, "See? This is exactly what I wanted. My perfect maid, admired and beautiful." The praise, both humiliating and intoxicating, made my knees weak. I hated that I liked it. Yet, deep down, a spark of excitement lit inside me, a feeling I couldn't ignore. After the cafe, Liam insisted we walk around town. He corrected my steps, my posture, my gestures. Every tilt of my head, every sway of my hips, every delicate movement of my hands was scrutinized. By the time we returned home, I was physically exhausted, emotionally drained, but mentally buzzing with conflicting feelings. Alone in my room, I collapsed onto my bed, staring at the reflection in the mirror. The girl looking back wasn't a costume. She wasn't me, at least not entirely, but she was undeniably real. Her eyes held uncertainty, fear, and something else, a dangerous, thrilling curiosity. I whispered softly to my reflection, "Who am I becoming?" And as I touched my cheeks, traced my lips, and adjusted my hair, I realized the answer terrified me. I was becoming someone new, someone molded by the bet, by Liam's control, by my own hidden desires. For the first time, I understood something profoundly unsettling. This bet wasn't just changing my appearance. It was changing me, deeply, irrevocably, and in ways I was only beginning to comprehend. By the 6th day, the rhythm of my life had shifted entirely. The apartment, once a neutral space of comfort and privacy, now felt like a stage where every movement, every word, every glance was under Liam's scrutiny. Each morning, I woke to a new outfit, each more feminine, each more revealing, each more binding, not just to fabric, but to a role I was rapidly internalizing. "Today," Liam said, leaning casually against the doorway, "we focus on refinement. Your posture, your voice, your gestures, every detail matters. And today, you will practice alone in the mirror before we go out. I want perfection." I shivered at the command, my stomach twisting. Alone in my room, I faced my reflection, and the mirror did not show me the boy I had been. It showed someone fragile, delicate, and undeniably feminine. Every curl of hair, every tilt of my head, every sway of my hips seemed alien and intoxicating all at once. As I practiced walking in heels, I felt the strain in my calves, the balance teetering on a knife's edge, and yet a part of me thrilled in the attention to detail in the discipline. The lace stockings brushed against my legs, the skirt swayed delicately, the blouse hugged my frame. It was humiliating, yes, but there was a secret joy buried beneath my embarrassment, a quiet thrill I could not name. Liam watched silently from the doorway, occasionally correcting a stance or adjusting a hair strand. "Remember," he said softly but firmly, "this isn't just about how you look. It's about how you become her. Your old self is fading good. It's time to embrace who you are now." I wanted to resist, to reclaim the boy I had been. But the words struck deeper than any command. I had felt the thrill of being admired yesterday at the cafe, the intoxicating mixture of fear and excitement. And I realized that part of me wanted more praise, more attention, more of the girl Liam was shaping me into. Later, when Liam guided me outside for a brief walk around the neighborhood, every passerby's glance made me hyper-aware of my body, my posture, my voice. A young man smiled at me and said, You're gorgeous. And my chest fluttered, a strange heat spreading through me. Liam leaned close, whispering, "See? You're meant for this. My perfect little maid." I wanted to deny it, wanted to resist, but my cheeks flushed, my heart raced, and I felt a dangerous thrill coil inside me. The line between humiliation and desire blurred. I hated that I liked being called pretty, being admired, being watched. And yet, I couldn't ignore it. That night, alone in my room, I stared at my reflection for hours. The girl in the mirror looked back with wide, uncertain eyes, delicate hands, and soft curves. I whispered, almost pleadingly, "Who am I? Who am I really?" And for the first time, I realized I was no longer just the boy who had entered the bet. I was becoming someone else, someone molded by Liam, by the rules, by the thrill and the fear. A part of me was terrified. A part of me didn't want to stop. By the seventh day, the bet had transformed my life in ways I could no longer ignore. The apartment, the streets, the cafe visits, all were stages for the careful choreography Liam demanded. But now, something deeper stirred within me. Doubt, humiliation, and a thrill that terrified me with its intensity. Liam had been pushing harder. The morning began with him placing a new outfit on my bed, a tight-fitting dress, lace stockings, and heels that made my calves ache just by looking at them. My reflection in the mirror was no longer a reminder of who I had been. It was the girl Liam was molding me into, delicate, graceful, and undeniably feminine. "Today," Liam said, his voice soft but commanding, "we push your limits. You will serve me at the mall. Public exposure, scrutiny, and obedience. This is where we test your true transformation." My stomach churned. The thought of walking through crowded stores, every eye potentially on me, every whisper potentially judging, made my throat dry and my knees weak. Yet I knew refusal was not an option. Liam's control was absolute, and my body and mind had started to obey even before my conscience could protest. We arrived at the mall, the bustling crowd making my pulse race. Each step in heels felt deliberate, measured. Every glance from a passerby made my cheeks flush. I felt painfully aware of my skirt, the sway of my hips, the way my hair framed my face. Liam walked slightly ahead, his hand occasionally brushing against mine, not in comfort, but in ownership. The first test came at a boutique. Liam handed me a tray of accessories, scarves, bracelets, and ribbons, and instructed me to approach strangers, offering them with a polite, practiced smile. My hands trembled. My voice, soft and melodic, quavered as I spoke. Some smiled, some laughed, some whispered. My cheeks burned, but I forced myself to maintain posture, expression, and composure. Then came the moment I dreaded most. A young man from my past, someone who had known me before all of this, saw me. His eyes widened in recognition. My heart stopped. My face flushed violently. The shame, the fear, and the humiliation collided in a whirlwind of emotion. Liam noticed my reaction and leaned close, whispering, "This is perfect. Your old self fading, your new self emerging. Feel it, embrace it. My perfect maid." A strange thrill coiled inside me. I hated that I enjoyed it. The humiliation, the exposure, the gaze of strangers, it all sparked something I could neither name nor resist. My reflection in shop windows revealed a delicate girl, poised and frightened, embarrassed yet undeniably alluring. Hours passed like this. Every correction from Liam, every glance, every whispered command chipped away at the last remnants of my old identity. And yet, amidst the shame, a dangerous pleasure stirred. I realized I liked being admired, liked the attention, liked the subtle thrill of humiliation mixed with control. When we returned home, exhausted and emotionally raw, Liam watched me collapse on the bed. He smiled, almost tenderly, and said, "You're learning. Slowly, beautifully. Soon, you won't even remember the boy you were. Only this, my perfect maid." Alone, staring at my reflection, I whispered, trembling, "Who am I now? Am I still me?" And for the first time, I realized I might never be the same. The line between fear, shame, and desire had blurred completely. I was trapped in this new identity, yet a part of me didn't want to escape. The afternoon sunlight poured through the living room windows, highlighting every delicate detail of the outfit Liam had chosen for me. It wasn't just a dress anymore, it was armor, a way to project a carefully curated version of myself that didn't feel entirely mine. My stockings clung to my legs like second skin, heels adding inches that made my gait both elegant and precarious. I was arranging cushions for Liam's new guests when a knock at the door startled me. A friend of Liam's, someone I had never met, stepped inside with a casual grin. His gaze lingered on me longer than it should have, eyes scanning every curve, every gesture. I felt my heart hammer in my chest, cheeks burning hotter than any embarrassment I had felt before. Liam leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, watching silently as I fumbled to maintain composure. "Remember," he said softly, "you are to be graceful, polite, and appealing." His tone carried both instruction and ownership. The stranger's attention was intoxicating, frightening, and humiliating all at once. I felt every blush, every shy glance magnified under his gaze. His voice was calm, friendly, but there was an undercurrent of something else, a hint of desire that made my stomach twist and my limbs stiffen. As I served drinks, I could feel Liam's eyes on me, assessing every movement. "You're doing well," he murmured, "but don't get lost in their attention. You belong to me." The words sent shivers down my spine. I hated the thrill I felt when the stranger complimented my appearance, my posture, my delicate hands. Part of me wanted to hide, to shrink away, to be the boy I once was. Yet another part, a part one didn't want to admit, was thrilled, craving approval and validation in a way that terrified me. When the visitor finally left, I slumped onto the couch, exhausted. My reflection in the mirror caught my gaze, and I hardly recognized the girl staring back. The eyes were wide, uncertain, yet there was a hint of newfound confidence, a dangerous spark I couldn't ignore. "Who am I really?" I whispered aloud, trembling. "Am I still the boy who entered this bet? Or am I becoming something else?" The question lingered, unanswered, as Liam approached and gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. "You're becoming perfect," he said. "Perfect for me. And soon, you won't even remember the boy you once were." And with that, I realized the terrifying truth. The lines between obedience, humiliation, and desire had blurred completely. I was trapped in this identity, yet a part of me didn't want to escape. The city streets were alive with the usual hum of traffic, chatter, and occasional laughter. But for me, every sound and glance felt magnified, focused directly on the delicate figure Liam had crafted from me. The heels clicked on the pavement with a precision that made my knees ache, yet every step reinforced a growing tension deep in my chest, a mixture of fear, shame, and a strange, intoxicating excitement. Liam walked slightly ahead, a casual hand occasionally brushing my back, as if reminding me of ownership. "Remember," he said softly, "everyone sees you as you are now.
My perfect maid."
Hold yourself with pride and obedience." Passing crowds felt like a test. Each pair of eyes that lingered or whispered fueled a storm inside me. Part of me wanted to disappear, shrink back into anonymity, reclaim the boy I once was. But another part, the part Liam had awakened, thrilled at the attention. I caught a reflection in a shop window, a delicate girl, graceful, uncertain, yet undeniably alluring. My hands fluttered to adjust my skirt, self-conscious, but captivated by the sight. At the cafe, Liam guided me to a small table. I took orders, poured drinks, and smiled, each action scrutinized by patrons and Liam alike. When a man commented on my elegance, my chest tightened with embarrassment and, disturbingly, pleasure. The thrill of being seen, judged, admired, and restrained all at once was dizzying. Later, Liam led me to a boutique for fittings. I tried on frilly skirts, lace stockings, and delicate blouses, each item emphasizing my transformed figure. He corrected my posture, tilted my chin, adjusted hair strands. Perfection, he murmured. You're learning quickly. His praise sent shivers down my spine, mingling with guilt and an odd, undeniable desire to please. By the evening, my mind was a whirlwind. Mirror reflections, stolen glances, whispered commands, they all coalesced into a powerful realization. The boy I was had faded. In public, I was a girl. In private, I was still trapped, yet increasingly willing to embrace the role Liam had constructed. The line between humiliation and thrill, obedience and desire, was gone. Returning home, I collapsed onto my bed, exhausted and raw. I stared at my reflection, tracing the delicate contours of my cheeks, the soft curve of my hips, the girl who now wore my eyes. Who am I? I whispered, my voice trembling. Is this me, or someone else entirely? And as Liam's approving gaze met mine in the mirror, I realized the truth I had been avoiding. I was no longer just a boy fulfilling a bet. I was someone else, someone trapped, transformed, and in ways I dared not admit, beginning to enjoy it. The days had started to blur together. Each morning brought a fresh set of instructions from Liam. Each evening left me more exhausted, more aware of how deeply I had changed. My reflection had become a constant reminder. The boy I once was seemed almost like a stranger, and the girl in the mirror, shy, delicate, obedient, was becoming the only version of me I recognized. Today, Liam decided it was time for a more intimate test. You will spend the day with me, assisting in personal errands, he said, his tone both commanding and soft. No public crowds this time. I want to see how you handle service without the distractions of others. Focus, obedience, and grace. I nodded, heart pounding, a mixture of relief and apprehension twisting inside me. At least there were no strangers to scrutinize me, yet the pressure to please Liam directly made my hands shake. Every movement felt amplified under his watchful gaze. We began with simple household tasks, organizing books, arranging his wardrobe, preparing his personal items. But even mundane chores felt loaded with meaning. Every misstep drew a correction, a delicate touch, or a quiet admonishment. Careful, he whispered as I straightened a stack of papers. Attention to detail, always. That's what makes you perfect. By afternoon, the tasks had shifted to more personal acts, helping him choose clothing, styling hair, even adjusting the collar of his shirt. Each touch from him sent shivers down my spine, both thrilling and humiliating. My cheeks burned with embarrassment, yet a part of me longed for his guidance, for his approval. The emotional storm reached its peak when Liam asked me to kneel by his side and brush his hair, a simple gesture that felt loaded with intimacy. My hands trembled as I combed, careful not to tug or misalign a strand. I couldn't ignore the fluttering in my chest, the shame that mingled with an unspoken thrill. You're learning quickly, he murmured, his eyes soft but commanding. You've become so delicate, so responsive. I almost forget you were ever a boy. I swallowed hard, my heart racing. The words, both a compliment and a reminder of my transformation, pierced through me. Part of me mourned the loss of my former identity, the freedom of being unseen and unjudged. But another part, the part Liam had awakened, was drawn to the thrill, the pleasure of obedience, the subtle power of becoming someone beautiful in his eyes. Later, alone in my room, I caught my reflection again. The girl staring back was undeniably feminine, soft curves, gentle features, shy yet radiant eyes. I whispered to myself, trembling. Am I still me? Or have I become hers? The line between obedience, desire, and humiliation had blurred entirely. I realized, with a mix of fear and fascination, that the bet was no longer just a game. It had reshaped who I was. And yet, part of me no longer wanted to return. The morning air was crisp, carrying the usual city sounds, but for me, every noise seemed sharper, every glance heavier. Liam had decided it was time to test my composure outside the comfort of our apartment. Today, he said with a sly smile, you will accompany me to the downtown shopping district. Full attire, full presentation. You are my maid, and everyone will see it. My stomach tightened at the thought. He wasn't just talking about errands or casual walks. He wanted me displayed, scrutinized, and observed. The reflection in the mirror that morning confirmed what I had feared. The girl staring back was ready. My hair curled perfectly, makeup enhancing delicate features, dress pristine and slightly playful. I looked like a dream, but a dream I was trapped inside. As we entered the bustling streets, I felt every pair of eyes brush over me. Some lingered with curiosity, others with subtle admiration, and a few with thinly veiled judgment. My heels clicked nervously on the pavement, each step a reminder of the bed, of Liam's control, and of my transformed identity. A boutique caught Liam's attention. "We'll start here," he said, guiding me inside. He instructed me to assist with arranging clothes, folding delicate blouses, and even approaching other customers with gentle courtesy. Each interaction left me trembling. Compliments from strangers brought a strange mix of pride and embarrassment. The thrill of being admired and the humiliation of being a display was intoxicating. A group of young men lingered nearby, whispering and glancing in my direction. My face burned. I could feel Liam's hand subtly press against my back, a quiet reassurance and a reminder of his ownership. "Remember," he murmured, "you are my creation. Do not forget who you belong to." The day continued with escalating challenges. I was made to approach the cashier, speak politely, and even entertain a minor fashion advice question from a passerby. Each task pushed my confidence and my submission simultaneously. My reflection in shop windows was a constant reminder. I looked beautiful, undeniably feminine, and yet every compliment pierced me with a mix of pride and shame. By evening, I realized that my internal struggle had deepened. I longed to escape, to return to the boy I once was, yet a part of me, a part one couldn't deny, thrived in the attention, in the thrill of public exposure, in the subtle dominance Liam exerted over every action. Alone in the hotel room where Liam had booked a short stay, I collapsed onto the bed. My reflection in the mirrored wall revealed a girl who was no longer tentative. She was poised, delicate, and utterly transformed. I whispered to the empty room, voice trembling. Am I still me? Or am I hers completely? The question lingered, unanswered, as I felt both fear and exhilaration coursing through me. Public exposure had solidified one truth. The transformation was not just physical, it was emotional, psychological, and undeniable. I was no longer just a boy who entered a bed. I was becoming someone else entirely. The mall's bustling corridors were alive with the hum of footsteps, chatter, and distant music, but for me, every sound felt magnified. Today, Liam had insisted I accompany him to a high-end salon, fully dressed, fully presented, as his perfect maid. My heels clicked nervously on the polished floor, each step a reminder of the rules I had to follow and the bet I had agreed to. As we navigated through the crowd, I caught glimpses of my reflection in shop windows. The girl staring back seemed poised, delicate, and undeniably feminine. Yet beneath that surface, my chest ached with unease, an inner storm of embarrassment and conflicting desire. Inside the salon, the stylist's compliments made my cheeks flush. Liam guided me through every motion, how to sit, how to hold my hands, how to tilt my chin. Each gesture was scrutinized, corrected, and praised. The sense of control he had over me was suffocating and intoxicating all at once. It was then that I saw him, Mark, my old friend from school. The same Mark who had teased me relentlessly as a boy. His eyes widened in shock as they met mine. I froze, heart hammering, unsure whether to run, hide, or explain. The reflection in the mirror multiplied my panic. The girl staring back was someone he didn't recognize, or perhaps someone he could never accept. "Liam," I stammered, my voice trembling. Mark approached, disbelief evident in every step. Is that really you?" he asked, voice tinged with confusion and curiosity. Liam's hand rested lightly on my back, his expression unreadable. "Yes," he said softly. "She's under my guidance now. Perfectly trained." I wanted to disappear, to erase the girl in the mirror, but I couldn't. Mark's gaze held a mixture of astonishment, admiration, and unspoken judgment. My chest tightened as I realized the gravity of the transformation. Not only had I changed physically, but my presence now commanded attention and stirred complex emotions in those from my past. Mark's lingering stare made me feel exposed, humiliated, and bizarrely thrilled. I felt every blush, every tremble, amplified under Liam's watchful eyes. My internal struggle reached a new peak. I wanted to flee to my old self, yet a part of me craved the validation, the attention, the twisted pride of being recognized as beautiful. By the time we left the salon, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. The bet, the obedience, the thrill of transformation, all of it collided in a storm of shame, desire, and reluctant acceptance. I whispered to myself, trembling, "I can't go back. I can't, can I?" And as Liam's hand guided me gently through the crowd, I realized the truth. The bet had become more than a game. It had become a force that reshaped my identity, challenged my loyalties, and exposed me to a world where the line between humiliation and desire was completely blurred. The apartment was quiet, save for the soft hum of the city outside. I had been waiting all day, nerves taut like stretched wires, knowing that Liam had something planned. Another test, another step in my transformation. My reflection in the mirror offered no comfort. The girl staring back was flawless, obedient, and undeniably feminine, yet my heart still thudded with a tension of fear, shame, and a growing, unsettling thrill. Liam entered, dressed casually but with an air of authority that immediately made my spine straighten. "Tonight," he said, voice low and commanding, "you will serve me fully. No hesitation. Every gesture, every movement must be perfect. You are no longer just a participant in a bet. You are my creation." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. I wanted to protest, to assert my old identity, but the girl in the mirror, a girl molded by Liam's hands, eyes, and words, hesitated only briefly before obeying. Kneeling to arrange his slippers, adjusting his chair, smoothing his clothes, each action brought a flush of embarrassment but also a strange satisfaction. He guided me to the center of the room, where a small pile of clothing awaited. "Dress," he commanded simply. The garments were delicate, lace, silk, and chiffon, each piece emphasizing my curves, my transformation, my submission. I obeyed, fingers trembling as I donned each layer. Once dressed, Liam circled me, inspecting every detail. "Perfect," he murmured. "But your walk, your posture, your voice, they must be flawless. Show me the girl you've become." I moved as instructed, each step a mixture of elegance and hesitation, each word spoken in a soft, melodic voice that felt foreign yet intoxicating. Liam's praise was immediate, his hands guiding corrections here, gentle touches there. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and, disturbingly, proud. The climax of control came when Liam directed me to a full-length mirror. "Look at yourself," he whispered. "See who you are now. This is no longer the boy who entered a bet. This is me, reflected through you." I stared, breath catching. The reflection was perfect, soft features, delicate curves, shimmering eyes, the girl I had become. And yet, the boy I once was lingered in the back of my mind, a shadow struggling to break through. My chest ached with conflicting emotions, humiliation, pride, desire, fear, all intertwining in a dizzying storm. Liam stepped behind me, hands resting lightly on my shoulders. "You belong to me," he said softly, almost tenderly, "and yet, you are beautiful. You are mine to mold, and you are perfect because of it." The words struck deeper than any command or correction. I shivered, my mind and body caught between surrender and resistance. For the first time, I realized that my transformation was complete, not just physically but emotionally, psychologically, and irrevocably. I was no longer simply fulfilling a bet. I was living it, every heartbeat, every breath, every shiver. By the end of the night, as I knelt at Liam's side, exhaustion and exhilaration mingling, I whispered softly to the mirror, trembling. I'm hers.
Completely.
And I can't imagine being anyone else. The morning sun filtered gently through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the room. I awoke, still dressed in the delicate outfit Liam had chosen for the previous night. My body ached pleasantly from the physical exertion of maintaining perfect posture, elegant movements, and attentive service, but more than that, my mind felt strangely at peace. The mirror across the room reflected a girl, soft features, graceful posture, radiant eyes. The reflection no longer brought panic or confusion. Instead, it felt like an extension of myself. I traced my fingers along the delicate neckline of the dress, feeling the smooth fabric, the gentle curves beneath. A whisper escaped my lips. I am her. Liam entered quietly, a small smile playing on his lips. Good morning, he said softly. Sleep well? I nodded, unable to find words. The girl I had become had absorbed my voice, my hesitations, and my boyhood timidity. Now, standing fully transformed, I realized that the bet, the challenges, the humiliation, and the obedience had all led me here, not to fear, but to a strange, undeniable satisfaction. You've done beautifully, Liam said, stepping closer. You've learned to walk, speak, and think as a girl. You've embraced it. And yet, his gaze softened, almost tender. You still have a choice. You can return to your old life if you wish. But understand this, you are no longer the same. That boy is gone, replaced by someone new. I closed my eyes, feeling the full weight of his words. A part of me longed to reclaim the old identity, the freedom of anonymity, the simplicity of being unnoticed, but another part, a part that had grown under his guidance, craved the delicate elegance, the subtle power, the beauty I now embodied. The choice was mine, yet somehow it no longer felt like one. I had tasted the thrill of transformation, the intoxicating mixture of obedience, beauty, and attention. I had become someone different, someone stronger in vulnerability, more confident in the delicate sway of femininity. I want to stay, I whispered, voice trembling but firm. I want to be her, yours fully. Liam's smile deepened, approval shining in his eyes. Then it is settled, he said. You are mine fully. And yet, you are beautiful. Remember that always. The days that followed cemented my new identity. I moved through the world as a girl, graceful, poised, and fully aware of the power of my appearance and demeanor. The boy I had been still lingered in fleeting memories, but he no longer defined me. I had accepted the transformation, embraced the femininity that Liam had guided me into, and discovered a strange freedom within submission. The bet that had begun as a game, a challenge, a cruel whim, had irrevocably reshaped my life. I was no longer simply a participant. I was a creation, a living testament to desire, control, and metamorphosis. As I stood before the mirror one last time, tracing the outline of my transformed self, I whispered, softly but with conviction, "This is me, and I am beautiful." The reflection smiled back, serene, confident, and fully hers. Weeks had passed since I fully accepted my new identity. The apartment, once a battlefield of control and humiliation, now felt like a space where I could explore my femininity with confidence. Liam's presence remained constant, but it had shifted subtly, from dominance to guidance, from control to partnership. I had ventured outside more often, meeting people who admired me, complimented me, and sometimes unknowingly flirted with the girl I had become. Each encounter was a test and a thrill, reminding me that my transformation had real-world consequences, that it was no longer confined to private spaces. One afternoon, as I adjusted my hair in a cafe window, I noticed a familiar face, Mark, my old friend who had recognized me weeks ago. This time, he approached with warmth instead of surprise. "You're incredible," he said, genuinely. "I never imagined," he trailed off, unsure how to process my transformation. I smiled softly, a mix of pride and nostalgia. "It's me now," I said simply. "Completely." The interaction reminded me that while the world might react in shock or curiosity, I had embraced who I was. The bet that had started as a simple dare had become a defining chapter of my life. I was no longer just a participant. I was the embodiment of the change, the proof that identity could be reshaped, tested, and ultimately embraced. Liam joined me silently, sliding a hand around my waist. "Beautiful," he whispered, echoing the words I had begun to accept not only from him but from myself. I leaned into him, feeling a serenity I had never known as a boy. The thrill, the tension, the humiliation, all had forged a new sense of self. And now, looking at my reflection in the cafe window, I whispered with quiet confidence, "This is me, and I'm proud." The morning sunlight spilled into the apartment, soft and golden, illuminating every corner of the room. For the first time in months, I woke without fear, without the tension that had gripped me since the first day of the bet. My reflection in the mirror greeted me, not with shock, confusion, or resistance, but with calm acknowledgement. I was her now, fully. Liam appeared in the doorway, his presence warm and reassuring. "Good morning," he said, his voice gentle. "You slept well?" I nodded, brushing a lock of hair from my face. I think I finally understand myself," I whispered. There was no trembling in my voice, no hesitation. Only a quiet, steady confidence. He smiled, walking over to adjust the hem of my dress with a delicate touch that felt more protective than controlling. "You've come a long way," he said. "From that shy, uncertain boy to the beautiful girl standing before me. I'm proud of you." The words settled into my chest like a soothing balm. Pride, a sensation I hadn't felt in years, bloomed within me. The girl in the mirror, graceful, poised, and undeniably feminine, was not just an illusion. She was me. Every carefully learned gesture, every whispered correction, every humiliating, thrilling moment had sculpted her. Weeks had passed since the final step of the bet, and life had transformed completely. I walked through the city streets with confidence, feeling the eyes of strangers brush past me, some admiring, some oblivious. Each glance reminded me not of shame, but of the power I held in my new form. Every step was a declaration. I belonged here, in this body, in this identity. One afternoon, I met someone from my past, an old friend I hadn't seen in months. His eyes widened as he took in my appearance. "Is that you?" he asked, disbelief mingling with curiosity. I smiled softly, a mixture of pride and reassurance. "Yes," I said. "It's me now." His expression softened, and he nodded. You look amazing." Hearing someone acknowledge my transformation without judgment brought a bittersweet joy. The boy I had been still lingered in fleeting memories, but he no longer defined me. I was more than that now, stronger, confident, and in full command of my feminine persona. Back at the apartment, Liam waited patiently. I approached him, letting my fingers brush his hand. "I'm ready," I said. "Ready to live this life, fully. No hesitation, no regrets." He smiled, a mix of pride and something deeper in his gaze. "Then it's yours completely. But never forget, you are beautiful, powerful, and entirely yourself." Standing there, in the soft morning light, I looked into the mirror once more. The girl staring back was no longer the timid, embarrassed boy forced into skirts and heels. She was me, strong, elegant, and alive in a way I had never imagined. I whispered, softly but with certainty, "This is my life now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." The reflection smiled back, serene, confident, and entirely mine. The bet had ended, but the transformation, the journey, the thrill, the emotional awakening had created a new reality, one I would carry forever. It had been weeks since I had fully embraced my life as Liam's pretty maid. My confidence had grown, my movements were fluid, and I no longer flinched at the thought of skirts, heels, or makeup. I had become comfortable in my new identity, or so I thought. That evening, as I returned from the grocery store carrying a bag of fresh vegetables, I noticed a note slipped under the apartment door. My heart skipped. The handwriting was unfamiliar, neat, elegant, and slightly menacing. I know what you've become. Meet me tomorrow at 6 p.m. Don't bring anyone. A chill ran down my spine. Who could know? How could anyone have discovered what Liam and I had carefully navigated for months? The bet, the training, the transformation, it was supposed to be private. I looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror, adjusting my skirt nervously. The girl staring back at me was still confident, poised, but fear had crept in for the first time. Could I face exposure? Humiliation? Judgment from someone outside my carefully crafted world? Liam noticed my expression as he passed. "What's wrong?" he asked gently, brushing a lock of hair from my face. I handed him the note. His eyes narrowed, and his hand instinctively brushed against my shoulder. "We'll handle this," he said. "But you must be calm, composed, and confident. That's your strength." The next day, I found myself at a quiet cafe on the edge of town, dressed meticulously in a pastel dress, heels clicking softly on the pavement. The cafe was empty except for a single figure at the corner, a tall man in a dark coat. His eyes were fixed on me, sharp and observant. "Are you the girl from the apartment?" he asked, his tone polite but loaded with curiosity. I felt a flicker of fear, but I forced a smile. "Yes, I am." He leaned back, a smirk forming on his lips. "I've heard a lot about you and your transformation. Fascinating work." The words sent a shiver down my spine. Fascinating? Was I a curiosity? A spectacle? Liam stepped forward from behind me, his presence steadying my nerves. "She's her own person," he said firmly. "Everything she's done, she's chosen. Respect that." The man's smirk softened into a small nod. "Interesting. But I have a challenge for you. A test." "What kind of test?" I asked, my voice betraying the tiniest hint of tremor. "You've become someone else entirely, but can you maintain her under pressure? I want to see if the transformation is real, or if it's just performance." My stomach twisted. Another public test, another layer of scrutiny. But something inside me stirred, a mix of determination, pride, and defiance. I had survived months of personal, private training. Now it was time to prove that the girl I had become was real. I straightened my back, adjusted my hair, and met his gaze with unwavering confidence. "I am who I am," I said firmly, "and I will prove it." The man's eyes gleamed with interest. "Good. Tomorrow at the event. Wear your best. And remember, everyone will be watching." As we left the cafe, Liam's hand found mine. "No matter what happens, you're ready," he whispered. I nodded, my reflection in a shop window catching my eye. The girl staring back at me was no longer timid. She was poised, strong, and fully alive in her identity. And no matter who was watching tomorrow, she would stand tall. But deep down, a spark of fear remained, a reminder that life as her would always have its challenges. And that made the journey all the more thrilling, all the more real. The morning of the event, I woke with a mixture of excitement and dread. My reflection in the mirror showed the girl I had become. Perfectly styled hair, soft makeup highlighting my eyes, and a pastel dress that hugged my frame just right. But beneath the surface, my heart raced. Today wasn't just about appearances. It was a test of everything I had become, every lesson Liam had taught me, every step of my transformation. Liam arrived promptly, carrying an air of calm reassurance. "Deep breaths," he said, adjusting the strap of my dress gently. "You've trained for this. You're ready." I nodded, though the butterflies in my stomach made it hard to believe. The cafe, the mall, even small walks outside had been manageable. But this was a public test, an arena filled with strangers and judgment. Every step I took today could affirm or shatter the identity I had worked so hard to claim. The venue was a small fashion and lifestyle event, bustling with people, bright lights, and curious eyes. As we entered, the tall man from yesterday waited near the stage, his gaze sharp, assessing me like a sculptor examining a raw form. "You ready?" he asked, his voice low but commanding. I took a deep breath, letting the confidence I had built over months flow through me. "Yes," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor I felt inside. He nodded and gestured toward the stage. Step out. Show them who you are. The crowd didn't know my story, didn't know my past. All they saw was a girl stepping forward with hesitant confidence. The spotlight hit me first, a blinding wash of warmth and judgment. Whispers traveled through the audience, some admiring, some skeptical. For a moment, my knees threatened to buckle, my heart racing in panic. But then Liam's voice echoed in my mind. You are strong. You are beautiful. You are her. Own it. I straightened, chin up, and took my first step onto the stage. The heels clicked against a polished floor, each step sending a thrill of empowerment through me. The audience watched, silent and expectant. The man from yesterday approached, holding a small card. Walk.
Pose. Smile.
Make them see the transformation is real. Every word, every movement I had practiced over weeks flooded my mind. I tilted my hips just right, adjusted my posture, and let a smile grace my lips. The crowd murmured, some nodding in approval, some whispering in awe. Then came the hardest part, the Q&A. He asked me simple questions, meant to test composure. What inspired your style? How did you discover confidence? What does being yourself mean to you? Every question forced me to articulate not just the physical transformation, but the emotional journey, the embarrassment, the humility, the moments of fear and exhilaration. And with each answer, my voice grew steadier, my posture firmer, my presence undeniable. Someone from the audience, a familiar face from my past, gasped. Recognition. My heart lurched for a moment, but I didn't falter. The girl I had become was resilient, unshakable. I smiled at him politely, letting my identity shine unguarded. By the end of the session, the applause was thunderous. The man nodded approvingly. You've done well, he said. Not just in appearance, but in presence. The transformation is real. You are remarkable. Relief washed over me, mingled with pride. I had faced the public, faced recognition, and faced judgment, and survived with grace. My journey as Liam's pretty maid, as the girl I had chosen to become, was validated. Later, back at the apartment, Liam hugged me tightly. You are perfect, he whispered. Every movement, every glance, it was all you. I looked into the mirror that evening, the soft glow of the room reflecting a confident, poised girl. The fear of yesterday had melted, replaced by quiet strength. I am her, I whispered, and no one can take that away. But deep inside, a tiny flicker remained, a whisper of challenge, a hint that life as her would always hold unexpected tests. And that thought, strangely, made the journey all the more real, all the more intoxicating. Days had passed since the public test, but the adrenaline from that experience still lingered in my veins. I moved around the apartment with more fluidity, more confidence, and a quiet pride that made even mundane tasks feel glamorous. Liam watched me with a mixture of satisfaction and curiosity, always checking to see if I had truly internalized my new identity. It was during a local art gallery opening that the next challenge, and the unexpected complication, appeared. I had gone there at Liam's suggestion, a social exposure meant to expand my public comfort and poise. The room buzzed with conversation, soft music, and the subtle clinking of wine glasses. I felt the familiar flutter of nerves, tempered by the quiet strength I had built. Then I saw him, Alex. Tall, with sharp features and an easy confidence, he glanced my way, and our eyes met. My stomach twisted, not with fear or discomfort, but with something entirely new, curiosity, fascination, and an unexplainable spark of attraction. I forced myself to breathe, keeping my composure. Liam noticed the subtle change in me. Who is he? He asked softly, his tone protective but not accusing. I don't know, I admitted, my voice almost a whisper. But I feel like I should know him. Alex approached, a charming smile spreading across his face. Hi, he said, voice smooth. I couldn't help but notice you. You have a presence about you. My cheeks warmed, and I felt an unfamiliar thrill. The words were not just a compliment, They were recognition of the identity I had fought to claim. For the first time, someone outside Liam was acknowledging me as myself, not as a project or a curiosity. We talked, first cautiously, then more freely. Alex's attention was genuine, yet teasing, a dangerous combination. Every glance, every smile, every subtle compliment made my heart race. Liam observed quietly from a distance, his calm demeanor hiding a mix of pride and concern. The evening grew later, and Alex leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I don't know why, but there's something about you, something I can't look away from." My breath caught. This was unfamiliar territory, new emotions intertwining with my adopted identity. The girl I had become was experiencing attraction, desire, and vulnerability, all in one moment. After the gallery, Liam and I walked back to the apartment. "He's different," I admitted, still processing the intensity of the encounter. "I've never felt anything like that before." "You're learning," Liam said gently. "Part of being her is experiencing life fully, love, attraction, confidence. You can't hide from that anymore." That night, I stared at my reflection longer than usual. The girl in the mirror had eyes filled with desire, a blush that came from something deeper than embarrassment. She had survived the bet, conquered public exposure, and now faced the complexities of attraction. It was thrilling, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. And for the first time, I realized that being her was not just about skirts, heels, or makeup. It was about living fully, embracing every emotion, and navigating a world that was both beautiful and unpredictable. As I drifted to sleep, I whispered to the reflection, "I am ready for everything, even this." The weekend arrived, bringing with it a challenge I hadn't anticipated. Liam had arranged for me to attend a local charity fashion show, not just as a spectator, but as a participant. My role, to walk the runway, fully dressed in a sophisticated ensemble, embodying poise, grace, and confidence. My heart pounded as we arrived at the venue. Bright lights, cameras, and the hum of excited chatter filled the room. People whispered, and some stared openly, scanning every inch of my attire, every flicker of emotion on my face. This was more than a test of appearance. It was a test of identity. Could I maintain the persona I had carefully cultivated in front of an entire audience? Liam adjusted my hair, smoothing it into soft waves. "Remember," he said, "you're not just performing. You're being her. Let the confidence flow from inside." I nodded, gripping the hem of my skirt to steady my nerves. Then I saw him, Alex. He had come, too, for the event. His eyes locked on mine, sending a shiver of anticipation through me. This wasn't just about the audience anymore. It was about him, watching, judging, and perhaps wanting. The fashion show began. One by one, models walked the runway, their faces poised, their movements polished. Then my turn came. The spotlight hit me as I stepped onto the stage. My heels clicked sharply against the floor. My heart raced, but I forced myself to breathe, to move with elegance, to embody the identity I had fought so hard to claim. The crowd's murmurs faded as I focused on the rhythm of my walk. Each step felt like a declaration. I am her. I am confident. I am unafraid. Halfway down the runway, a sudden challenge struck. A group of spectators began whispering loudly, some snickering.
A few pointed at me.
My face flushed, but I forced my posture straighter, my smile unwavering. Liam's voice echoed in my mind. "You are strong. You are beautiful. Own it." I felt Alex's presence beside the stage, his gaze unwavering, supportive yet intense. That gaze anchored me, giving me the courage to continue, to finish the walk with grace. When I reached the end of the runway, applause erupted, louder than I had expected. People cheered, clapped, and even called out compliments. Relief and exhilaration surged through me. I had faced judgment, scrutiny, and even humiliation, and emerged victorious. Afterward, backstage, Alex approached. "You are incredible," he said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Every step, every movement, you're stunning." My cheeks warmed, but I allowed myself a small, triumphant smile. Thank you. I've been practicing, I admitted. Liam appeared behind me, his expression proud. You did more than practice. You owned it. You're ready for anything now. That night, as I looked in the mirror, the girl staring back at me was radiant, not just physically, but emotionally. She had faced the public, confronted fear, and even navigated the complexities of attraction. She was more than a pretty maid now. She was a confident, empowered young woman, fully embracing the identity she had chosen. But deep inside, I knew the journey wasn't over. Challenges, tests, and unexpected emotions still awaited. And that realization, thrilling and terrifying all at once, made me eager for what would come next. The morning after the fashion show, the apartment felt unusually quiet. I sipped my tea, still basking in the glow of the previous night's triumph, when Liam entered with an unusually serious expression. There's something you need to know, he said, his tone low and careful. About Alex. My stomach clenched. Something in his voice told me this wasn't a casual warning. It was the calm before a storm. What about him? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Liam hesitated, then continued. Alex, he's not entirely who he seems. I've known him for a while, long before you even came here.
And he's been testing you.
My mind whirled. Testing me? The way he looked at me, the attention, the charm, it had all felt real. Had it been a game? A setup? Liam shook his head, frustration creeping into his tone. He's involved in something experimental. He's curious about transformations like yours, and he's been watching to see how you'd react. Not everything he said or did was genuine. I felt the floor shift beneath me. Betrayal burned in my chest. Alex, the one person whose admiration had felt sincere, was part of a secret test, a hidden agenda. My cheeks flushed with embarrassment, anger, and confusion. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked, my voice trembling. Because I wanted you to see how strong you were on your own, Liam admitted. I didn't want to manipulate your feelings more than they already were. But now you need to know the truth. And you need to decide, are you still willing to continue, knowing this? I sank into a chair, my mind racing. Every interaction, every compliment from Alex, every spark I had felt, was it real, or just part of his curiosity? The lines between reality and performance blurred. My identity as Liam's pretty maid had been tested publicly, and now privately, it faced the ultimate scrutiny. Hours later, Alex appeared at the apartment, seemingly casual, unaware that I had been told the truth. His smile was as warm as ever. Hey, he said softly, you looked amazing yesterday. Truly stunning. I felt the conflict roiling inside me, anger, betrayal, desire. Could I trust him? Did I even want it? I know the truth, Alex, I said, my voice steady but laced with emotion. About you, about your motives. His smile faltered, just slightly. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to understand, to see if you were ready, if you were strong. Strong? I echoed. Do you think testing me behind my back makes me strong, or just used? He reached for my hand, but I pulled back. My reflection in the nearby mirror stared back at me, not the girl I had been the day before, but someone who had faced public judgment, personal attraction, and now betrayal. My identity was no longer just a game. It was real, and it demanded recognition and boundaries. I need time, I whispered, stepping away from him. I need to know who I am and who you really are. Alex nodded, a shadow of guilt crossing his face. I understand. I'll wait. That night, alone in my room, I looked in the mirror for what felt like hours. The girl staring back was strong, resilient, and conflicted. She had faced public scrutiny, learned to navigate desire, and now confronted the ultimate test of trust and emotional clarity. For the first time, I realized that being Liam's maid and being her was not just about obedience or appearance. It was about choice, power, and the ability to navigate complex human emotions. And as the night deepened, I whispered to my reflection, I am hers, fully. But no one, not even Alex, will dictate my heart or my identity. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the apartment. I could still feel the tension from the previous night, the echo of Alex's words and Liam's warning pressing heavily on my chest. The air seemed charged with unspoken truths, and I knew that today, everything would come to a head. Liam sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped, his expression calm but resolute. "It's time," he said, almost as if reading my thoughts. "Alex wants to see you, and I think you're ready to face him, fully, without confusion or hesitation." My stomach churned. Ready? Was I ever truly ready to confront someone who had toyed with my emotions, who had made me question my trust, my desires, even my identity? But deep inside, a voice whispered, "You are stronger than you think. You've faced public scrutiny, humiliation, and temptation.
You can handle this."
I nodded, trying to summon courage, and followed Liam to the living room where Alex waited. His casual demeanor, that familiar charming smile, was now tinged with something I couldn't quite read. Nervousness? Respect? Regret? "Hi," Alex said softly, standing when I entered. "I didn't expect that you'd want to face me like this." "I don't want to run anymore," I replied, my voice steady, though my heart raced. "But I need honesty, Alex. I need to know why you did what you did, and whether you're worthy of my trust or my heart." Alex swallowed, his usual confidence faltering. I was curious. I've studied people like you, transformations like yours. But seeing you, experiencing your presence, it became real. What I feel now, this isn't a test. It's genuine. Liam watched silently, his arms crossed, evaluating both of us. I realized then that this confrontation wasn't just about Alex. It was about me claiming my own agency, making choices as her, not as the timid boy I had once been. "You can't just play with someone's feelings," I said, taking a step closer. "You can't manipulate attraction and expect forgiveness just because you claim it's real now." "I know," Alex admitted, his voice breaking slightly. "And I accept whatever consequences come. But I want a chance to prove that my feelings are real, that I respect who you are, her, not just a subject of curiosity." The words hung in the air, heavy with tension and sincerity. My mind raced, weighing emotions, experiences, and the undeniable spark I had felt for him. Liam finally spoke. "It's your choice."
No one can decide for you.
"Not me. Not him. Only you can decide what this means for you, and how far you're willing to trust again." I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. Memories of the past weeks flashed before me. Walking in heels, applying makeup, enduring teasing and judgment, surviving public humiliation, and feeling both the thrill and fear of attraction. Every moment had led me here, to a place where my identity was fully realized, and my choices mattered more than anyone else's manipulation or influence. Opening my eyes, I faced Alex. "I'm willing to give you a chance," I said slowly, each word deliberate. "But you must respect me, her, in every way. No games, no secrets. If you break that, it's over." Alex's face lit with a mixture of relief and hope. "I promise," he said softly. "I will honor you fully." Liam exhaled, a small smile playing on his lips. "Good. Now we see if you've truly grown, both as her and as yourself." The confrontation left me drained, exhilarated, and empowered. For the first time, I realized that my journey wasn't just about skirts, heels, or submission. It was about claiming identity, navigating desire, and making decisions that reflected who I had become. That night, I stood before the mirror, gazing at the reflection of the girl I had fought to become. Strong, confident, and in control of her own life. A girl who could face judgment, attraction, and betrayal, and emerge whole. "I am ready," I whispered. "Ready to live, ready to love, and ready to be her, fully, completely, without fear." My stomach churned as the morning light filtered through the curtains. Today wasn't just another day, it was a test, a public declaration of everything I had become. Liam had arranged for me to attend a high-end charity gala, not as a guest, but as a featured host alongside Alex. My role: to guide, charm, and present, embodying confidence, elegance, and poise. Dressing in the soft, flowing gown Liam had picked out, I studied my reflection. The girl staring back at me was no longer timid, no longer hesitant. Her posture was perfect, her expression calm, yet magnetic. Every detail, makeup, hair, accessories, reflected not just beauty, but identity. Liam adjusted my necklace, giving me a small, approving smile. You're ready. Own this. Remember, you're not just performing. You are her. Every movement, every word, every glance. Let them see her. The gala hall sparkled with chandeliers and the hum of conversations. Attendees whispered, some recognizing me from previous events, others curious about the stunning new hostess. My heart raced, but I focused on my training, my experience, the months of practice and self-discovery that had led to this moment. Alex approached, his gaze intense but supportive. You're amazing, he whispered. They don't even know it yet, but you're going to captivate everyone. The first guests approached, and I guided them gracefully, my voice steady, my smile warm. Each interaction reinforced my confidence, my presence, and the identity I had fought to embrace. I realized then that public scrutiny no longer intimidated me. I was not just Liam's maid, not just a girl in a skirt. I was someone who had survived embarrassment, challenge, and emotional trials, and emerged radiant. Then, the final challenge arrived. A small group of skeptical attendees, aware of the unusual circumstances of my transformation, approached. Their questions tested me, probing, challenging my authenticity. Are you really comfortable in this role? One asked, a smirk playing on his lips. I paused, then smiled gently. More than I ever imagined. It's not about pretending anymore. It's about embracing who I am and being proud of it. Their expressions softened, curiosity replaced by admiration. For the first time, I realized that my journey, my trials, my embarrassment, my growth had created a persona so strong, so genuine, that it commanded respect. Later, as Alex and I shared a quiet moment on the balcony overlooking the city lights, he took my hand. I'm proud of you, he said softly. Not just as the girl everyone sees, but as the person you've become. I leaned against him, feeling a mix of relief, triumph, and emotional clarity. I've learned so much, I admitted. About trust, about myself, about what it means to be fully me. Liam appeared behind us, nodding in approval. She's done it, he said simply. Not just survived, but conquered her fears, her doubts, and even me. That night, alone in my room, I looked into the mirror once more. The reflection was perfect, not flawless, but authentic. Strong, beautiful, confident. A girl who had faced trials, endured manipulation, and emerged triumphant. I am her, I whispered, smiling. And no bet, no challenge. No one can take that away. The journey wasn't over. The world still held judgments, challenges, and surprises, but for the first time, I knew I could face them all. Because I was no longer hiding. I was fully, completely, undeniably myself. The morning light poured into the apartment, casting a warm glow across the polished floors. Today felt different, not tense, not filled with fear, but calm, resolved, and somehow triumphant. I moved slowly, savoring the quiet, the stillness, and the reflection of the girl I had become in the mirror. Months of trials, bets, public scrutiny, and emotional turmoil had led to this moment. I remembered the initial embarrassment, the forced skirts, the teasing, the public outings. Every awkward step, every faltering word had shaped me, refined me, and ultimately revealed a strength I hadn't known existed. Liam entered the room with a gentle smile. You've done more than I ever expected, he said. Not just as my maid, or as the girl the world sees, but as yourself. Strong, confident, and complete. I smiled back, a mixture of gratitude and pride swelling in my chest. I couldn't have done it without you, I admitted. Without your guidance, your challenges, I wouldn't have discovered this part of me. Alex appeared behind him, his presence warm and steady. He took my hand, and I felt the familiar thrill of connection, but now there was clarity. No manipulation, no tests, only honesty and respect. "I'm proud of you," Alex whispered. "Not just as a partner in the game, but as the person you've grown to be. And I promise from now on, no more bets, no more experiments. Only truth." I nodded, squeezing his hand. The weight of the past months, the humiliation, the confusion, the longing, finally lifted. I had survived everything that had been thrown at me, and I had emerged whole. The final step was simple yet profound. I walked to the mirror, examining my reflection with calm acceptance. The girl staring back at me was no longer an experiment, no longer a challenge, no longer a role imposed by someone else. She was fully, authentically herself. "I am her," I whispered, feeling a sense of liberation and pride. "And no one can take that away." Liam placed a hand on my shoulder, his eyes reflecting pride and satisfaction. "She's more than a maid, more than a girl, more than anyone expected. She's unstoppable." Alex smiled, leaning close. "And I'll be here. Always. Not as a tester, not as a judge, but as someone who truly respects and cherishes her." I felt tears of relief, joy, and triumph welling up. The journey had been long, emotional, and at times unbearable. But now I had arrived. Fully accepted, fully confident, and fully myself. As the sun set over the city, I stood on the balcony, feeling the wind against my face, savoring every moment of freedom, identity, and love. The world was still vast, unpredictable, and filled with challenges. But I was ready. I was strong. I was her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel afraid.